Hey, 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 Nerd Herd family. It's been a couple of days. I haven't seen you guys. I wasn't feeling the best. I was suffering from tremendous headaches, which is one of the things that I deal with. But you guys come on in here. You come on in here. Our girl, Wendy Williams, has spoken. Please enter the room. You know what to do when you come on in. Be sure to throw a thumbs up so that the algorithm knows what we're doing. Our girl, hey, Auntie Leah, how are you? Our girl will be in the house momentarily, the dopest mod, and here she is, like clockwork. You guys know the routine. When you come on in, please make sure that you throw a thumbs up and like the stream so that the algorithm knows that we're doing something tremendous and they get on it. Oh, my daughter just texted me. She got into the school, her number one school. Woo! Child, hold on. Hold on one second. I am ecstatic. I'm so proud of our girl. The trusty dusty show producer has got into her number one school. I am so proud. Shout out to my daughter for being a phenomenal young woman and doing what the baby. My husband up in heaven, I know he is shining down. A parent has to be proud of something like that. A kid that is so focused, so amazing. Shout out to my daughter. Shout out to my daughter, the trusty dusty show producer, who is getting a bunch of college admittance, and she got in. She just texted me. She got into her number one school. I'm super proud of you. Mommy is so proud of you, baby. I love you so much. And shout out to this shea butter because I caught a glimpse of these hands just now when I put my hand up and I said, not today. Not today. Thank you so much, guys. As you guys see the thumbnail, our girl, Wendy Williams, has spoken and it deserves attention. I have so many thoughts on it. Let me do a little housekeeping business before I go into our topic du jour. I will be back on later on, but let me just do a little housekeeping. It has been brought to my attention that there is a nefarious tactics that are being utilized by people who have malintent. There is a troll farm that goes around and funds gifted memberships. And so when other people are gifting memberships, they are doing it out of the pureness of their heart. However, there are trolls that are doing it, and their intent is not at all for the support of the content creator or the channel. And I don't want people with pure intention being mixed up or people assuming that they are a part of this nefarious thing. We have very dedicated subscribers and people on this channel, people that watch who are not subscribed, but they just love what we do. And I have to shout them out. However, going forward, I would prefer, because I've been educated on how they're doing it and what they're doing it, and I have experienced it on my own, someone has tried to gain access to my channel and my back office on YouTube. And what is wrong with you people? Like, can we just grow up, please? Like, Can we just be civilized and mind our businesses and stay out of people's stuff? Someone has attempted to break into my stuff, and this only occurred once I was educated on what the gifted memberships cause. This is what has happened once, that a new climate of people, and I've noticed some new names come around, and a new climate of people are jumping in with those gifted memberships. I was taught how to look, and I can see the change. So from this point, and I was also educated that if you are truly in support of the content creator and the channel, to gift the memberships does not support the content creator like you think. In fact, YouTube takes a large portion of the money that is sent or gifted, and the content creator doesn't receive it. So if you really support the content creator and the channel, opt for cash apping them. You can still do your super chats and super stickers, but when you gift memberships, the majority of that goes to YouTube, and it doesn't at all go to the YouTube content creator, and it doesn't come until a month and a half later. So if you want to support, this is what I am asking, to prevent those trolls from getting in, because like I said, someone tried to hack my back office and my system, and I've been dealing with YouTube for the past few days about that. So if you want to truly support the channel, please do so with the Cash App. The cash tag is right here on the channel. Please do so. I couldn't understand what this whole gifting membership thing was about, like the negative thing that was being said. And someone had to educate me in the back office. And then I went and researched for myself, and I was like, what? And then when YouTube is reaching out to me because someone is trying to get into my account, that's effed up. Like, it's really effed up. But, enough of that. We are here for a positive thing. So just in conclusion, if you want to be a blessing to the channel, please use the cash tag or use the super sticker. If you want to use super stickers, you're welcome to do. We have just recently set up a Patreon where they give most of the money to the content creator. And y'all know I'm not super technical behind the scenes. So I will link that Patreon to our channel. You'll be able to do stuff. I'm just building up a whole host of things so that you guys can interact more and we can provide more for you, especially for the members. But in the interim, like I said, I was educated, and I didn't find out until somebody tried to break into my account, which just stinks. We come here to do this of our own volition. We come to do this of our own free will. So don't I find it to be quite disrespectful that someone would even do that to me. I'm a woman of God. What am I doing that bothers anybody? I am talking about God and discussing current events and how God pertains to it. The notion that someone would do that to me sucks. It's absolutely reprehensible, but such is life. Such is what we'll have to do with life. Let's move on from that. Let's talk about our girl, Wendy Williams. So those of you who know, if you know, you know. If you have not heard or seen the interview with Wendy Williams on the Breakfast Club this morning, and then afterwards on the Don Lemon show, then you are living under a rock. By all means, please come out, get a little sun, enjoy yourself. There's so much to be garnered in the world. So to start this conversation off, I'm going to say hashtag free Wendy. I want you all to hashtag free Wendy in the chat. I want you all to hashtag free Wendy everywhere. Hashtag free Wendy. That's not Wendy Williams. Just hashtag free Wendy. We know the Wendy that we're talking about. Feel free to hashtag free Wendy Williams if you choose, but we want to have a collective hashtag that becomes a echo chamber and a powder keg on the internet. Hashtag free Wendy. I feel like what is being done to Wendy is absolutely disgusting and reprehensible. And I've talked to you guys about this type of stuff before in telling you, be sure to get yourself a trust and get yourself life insurance. Now, people are here or there about life insurance, and we will go into a life insurance. I'll do a live on life insurance as well, because it's an important discussion. It is the single-handed way in which one generation is able to pass legacy wealth and bequeath their worldly possessions to the next generation. Without it, we are supposed to leave our subsequent generations better than they found this world. And so it's important. However, what's happening to Wendy Williams is a powder keg and a perfect storm of a whole lot of things. It's a perfect storm of a lot of things. It is a perfect storm of a disgusting husband who saw fit to prey on a talented queen. It makes me question whether or not he was at all ever sincerely in love with her. And I know them from back in the days when Wendy Williams was on the radio. I know them from back in the days. What comes to mind right now is one night they were on Flatbush Avenue at the shop when I worked at my homeboy's shop before I opened my beauty salon. That I can see us all standing outside right now, and that night will never leave my mind. When she was our on-air DJ on WBLS in New York City, and she was phenomenal and spectacular. She was forward-thinking. She had her ear to the street. She had a way about her and a talented wordsmith, not unlike myself, but she was a talented wordsmith, and she just had a way about her. She knew how to deliver information, and what people misrepresented as she's mean and this and that. No, she was speaking facts, but people didn't want to hear it because, baby, when I say she had foot on neck for Puffy back then, honey, had people listened to Wendy Williams back then, he would have not been able to do all that he's done in this world. From a negative perspective, he would not have been able to do what he did to artists. She was speaking up on behalf of artists back then. She was speaking on behalf of regular people that he was interacting with. She was speaking on behalf of all of the nefarious things that have come to light. And this is her moment. On top of the people who are survivors, myself included, present company included, and all of the other people he victimized, those who are here and have the ability to speak, and those who have left this earthly realm and cannot speak for themselves, and those who are still in this earthly realm but don't perceive themselves the ability to speak for a multitude of reasons, whether it be legal implications, whether it be because they have pending litigation still taking place, whether it be because they are so traumatized because this abuse is still relatively fresh that they perceive themselves or their throat chakra is somehow bound and they cannot speak. Your girl been in this fight for 25 years. My throat chakra free, boo-boo. And I'm going to cry aloud and spare not. I sure will. But there is no other person who single-handedly deserves this moment like Wendy Williams does. Wendy Williams. But I'm going to teach you, I'm going to talk to y'all. In this whole Wendy, first and foremost, I do not see dementia in Wendy. I've worked in the medical field, in the realms with people with dementia. My grandmother, that was one of her comorbidities when she departed this earth, was dementia. I know what someone who's under dementia looks and sounds like. And baby, y'all saw Wendy Williams at her son's graduation on her scooter, scooting around, collecting and gathering people for getting the wrong car and squandering her money. That ain't what dementia looks like, boo. Because dementia pops in a long time before it completely debilitates you. I also know what someone who is mentally incapacitated looks and sounds like. I worked in the field of developmental disabilities and delays, mental illness, and in the medical field in general. Baby, not the least of which is you. All of you have family members. You have elders in your family. You've experienced, you've seen firsthand what an incapacitated person looks like. I don't care if it's you had a cousin, Pookie and Man that got shot 20 years ago, and he in the house, he home, but he is gone. He's just physically there. He does very little for himself, and there's a, big mama or auntie that takes care of him. You know what incapacitation looks like. Those of you who have that family member who was born with a developmental delay and has never been autonomous and individually capable of taking care of self and have pretty much lived in the bed or in the room or in a chair by the window for their life, you know what it looks like. If you haven't personally experienced that, shout out to God be the glory, and then think about what you've seen on TV in movies or TV shows or reality shows. People who have developmental delays, who have dementia, and who are incapacitated. No. Hashtag free my girl Wendy. Free Wendy. But let me tell you the beauty of how God, because y'all know I have to put God in everything, because God is in everything. And too many people are comfortable forgetting how God is present in an ever-present situation. Do you know how you know how many people are in a conservatorship? First of all, let me just say unequivocally, the conservatorship program in the United States of America is broken, irretrievably broken. And it needs to be ended and reformatted, if at all. This conservatorship BS. There was a movie out about people just automatically taking conservatorship of people to get at their funds. So let me tell you the number one people who are subject to a conservatorship. If you got some shekels, some coin, some cabbage, some green, some dinero, some gold doubloons, some paper, that Skrilla, if you have done well for yourself, watch your back. Watch your back and your front and your sides, because somebody's coming for that neck. Those are the people that end up in conservatorships, but not exclusively. Other people end up in conservatorships too. But if you have some cottage cheese, baby, someone is looking over you, and not necessarily the people closest to you. There are people who make a career out of being in folks' business. They may have a relationship with someone at the bank, or they may come to a town and see who. Brittany is a perfect example. They may come to a town and see how somebody's moving. They keep seeing this nice car and that here where you live and this nice house, or they go to the little club and see you, baby. Oh, thank you, my love. Thank you, Kat. She said, it's so good to be with you and the beautiful nerd herd today. Why, thank you, my love. Listen, let me tell you something. Sometimes the danger is not coming from the people closest to you, but the monitoring spirits who are watching you. Let me bring my God, my amazing, merciful God, who is the Alpha and Omega and the creator and of all, the giver and the taker. Let me put God in this. Because remember, everything is not God's will. It is not God's will that Wendy is in this predicament. God gives us free will. And this is the free will of a monitoring spirit who was clocking Wendy, saw a vulnerability because her husband, that scallywag, all the opinions of the Dopest Nerd show, eventually show, podcast, channel, are that of the Dopest Nerd and not the Dopest Nerd channel. They are all protected by free speech, as protected by the United States Constitution, and are based on my belief and opinion. Let me just put that out there. Now, these vulnerabilities happen because they can see the deconstruction. So we're going to give a collective rebuke to Sharina, because you's a dirty heifer. And that's my opinion and belief. You's a dirty heifer. And anybody who partakes in, and I don't care if it encompasses anybody who is watching now, will watch in the replay gang, or is a member of my Nerd Herd family. If you don't like what I'm about to say, skedaddle, bye, sayonara, go that way down the internet superhighway. Anybody who has the audacity, the scallywag heart to decide to enter yourself within the confines of a marriage covenant of two people, I don't give a damn what level it's at. If two people are still wed in matrimony and their divorce or their marriage is not terminated as per the guidelines of the state or the guidelines of the church, and you enter the confines of that marriage, you deserve whatever you get. May the rebuke of the Most High and everybody be upon you, because you's a old dirty scallywag. This woman, Sharina, thought it not robbery to step within the confines of this marriage. Now, the person who really is responsible is the infidel of a husband, Kelvin, that old raggedy infidel. Based on my opinion and belief, and my First Amendment right to free speech, as protected by the governing doctrine of the United States of America, the Constitution. You had no right violating the sanctity of the marriage that you had to your wife, that covenant bond before God. You caused this crap. You out here belly aching and carrying on and I need my money and I'm supposed to get alimony. How about you be grown? How about you go pick up some power tools and go build something? And for a lot of you men on this internet, spilling tea and all, go build something. Uno chat too much, man. Me can't take it. Also, I'm peeping you content creators. You see the picture of my thumbnail? How resplendent and gorgeous our sister Wendy looks. I see y'all content creators with the raggedy pictures of Wendy when she was down bad. I see the slickness of you. 2025 is the end of slickness. We're going to terminate all this snickness, all these sneak disses and all this nastiness. We're terminating that. If I see it, I'm calling you out. Right now, I'm going to give you a blanket. I'm not going to say your names, but so help me God. Y'all don't change them thumbnails by 4 o'clock. When I circle back and get back in this house, I'm calling names. How disgusting of you and evil of you to use this opportunity when our sister is fighting to prove that she is not only healthy and not incapacitated, nor is she suffering from dementia, but she is of sound mind and body and deserves to be free, to have her autonomy, and to live out the remainder of her lives free from the tyranny, oppression, and conservatorship that is now placed on her. Like, who the F gives another individual who wasn't in the gym shooting with you to come and determine, I'm going to take control of you. I think I can do what's in your best interest. You don't know a good goddamn thing about her. Nothing. And yet you've immersed yourself in the midst of this woman's life after she worked all her life. Wendy is 60. I will be 55 this year. Wendy became our DJ in New York at 20. I think she was 25. She was 25. I've experienced the Wendy Williams that was the queen of all media, the radio maven, since my 20s, okay? I remember all the things she said. Some of them were spicy. Listen, we live in a world where the term gossip columnist has existed way before Wendy Williams. You had Dear Ann Landers. They used to have columns in the newspaper. Her sister had a big, there was the, the Beatrice and the this and the that and all that. All these gossip columnists. This is nothing new. She was doing a job. She was providing a service. If you were not interested in that quality of, and here's the deal. Not only was she providing a service now, was she off the mark sometimes? Sometimes the information was bad. But I can tell you firsthand, the tea she was spilling since my 20s, and like I said, I'm 55 this year, the tea she was spilling, right, spot on. Oh, baby, every single thing she said about Puffy was right. Let me tell you, for those of you who don't know, when Wendy Williams was a radio DJ, shock jock, whatever you want to call her, in New York, she got fired from her station. Guess how? Because of Puffy. And I was there that year. In Cancun, we had something called the Cancun All-Star Fiesta. It was a converging on Cancun, Mexico, from all around the country and some international places. And it was sports and entertainment and TV celebrities and everybody. It was just, athletes and singers and rappers and all measure of producers. It was just everybody. And baby, we had a glorious time. Okay. A time was had, child. When I tell you it was so good, if I even try to tell you, you would not be able to conceive how super dope it was. You had to be there. I came up in the gold. Listen, I was in my prime in the golden times, baby. In the 90s, the 80s, 90s, baby. The decade of the 90s is when, and bar none, based against, I don't care who says it. If you think I'm wrong, you have to prove me wrong. You have to cite your sources and prove me wrong, because I was there, boo. Not just New York, all over. I was everywhere. Okay? I used to sell rooms in Cancun. You don't believe me? Ask about me. There's people out there that bought my rooms. They could tell you. Not only did I sell rooms, I sold everything. I was the chick that if I had to, I did hair in Cancun. I advertised in the airports. People used to come see me to get their hair done from 6 to 9 in the morning and from 6 to 9 in the evening, in anticipation for the day and anticipation for the parties at night. I was that chick. Had to pay extra for my Marcel irons and my stoves because it was so heavy. I had my own suitcase for hair and hair items. That was me. Ebony the Trackmaster. Okay? I was there. Not only was I doing hair, I knew a bunch of people that ain't used to traveling and ain't used to going away or so hype about the vacation, don't got a lot of stuff with them. I was selling toothbrushes, toothpaste, tampons, hair stuff, Band-Aids, Tylenol. I had it all because that's me. I'm an ingenue. I am a Renaissance woman. I am a meticulous businesswoman, and business is what I do. If you don't believe me, ask about me, because they can't tell you scandal about me, but they can tell you, oh, Ab, they used to call me Rubenstein. Yes. I used to sell condoms in Cancun for $5 a pop in the 90s. In the 90s. You want to know what my selling, you want to know what my marketing thing was? Here's my marketing thing. I would walk up, see one of my homeboys or see some dude that I knew from the scene, because everybody knew me, that I knew from the scene. I didn't have to particularly know them. I could see them hollering at a chick. I walk up and be like, oh, you good? I got them condoms. If you need, let me know. Your girl out here taking care of you. And then I'll turn away. If they hesitate, I'll turn around and whisper and be like, never mind. She look clean. And I would do the same thing to the chicks. And then people be like, all right, give me one. And then I would give them one. I'm not talking about a box of condoms. I'm talking about one condom. I would give them one and I'd be like, oh, that's all you're working with today? You must have drunk too much. Okay. And they'd be like, all right, give me 3. $15 for 3 condoms in the 90s. Yes, baby. I was a hustler, business-wise. That's just who it is. That's just what it is and who it is. And anybody who lies and anybody who tries to tell you otherwise is a liar. I used to sell suites because we had timeshares, and I would take all the banked timeshare weeks and sell them. And this is in the 90s. I would sell $1,000 a suite, 4 people in a suite. Yes. And then all of the people that bought suites from me, I would make them breakfast in my condo, cook breakfast. Everybody could come and eat and all that stuff, because that's me. I'm gonna sell you a service, but you're gonna love me. You buying not because you need a room, but because you love me. Because that's how I get down. I'm gonna give you equity and value for what you're buying. But I digress. I remember those days vividly. A time was had in those 90s. You hear me? Anybody who your mama was there. Most of them, a lot of people, I'm your mama age. Your mama and your daddy was there. And a time was had. And our girl Wendy Williams had her ear to the street. She had an entire litany of people that were dedicated to her that would tell information. And so that year, when the shenanigans with him went down, I was there. Somebody snapped a picture and vintage, emailed the picture to Wendy. And that picture was in New York before we got back. Okay? And baby, Wendy went to town. And I'm going to tell you, by the time they weren't even back yet, he said, by the time I get back to America, if she not fired, you will never get another record from our company. And I'm going to tell all my partners that own record companies not to send you a record. And they hurried up and this is how how dirty they were. They was like, it was nice knowing you, Wendy, and fired her. Now, not only did they fire her, which she really was talented enough to go to any other radio station in the New York area. But if you know, like I know, there was a non-compete clause. And so nobody else could hire her for a specific period of time. And so she had to go sit in Philly, in the radio station market in Philadelphia, because it was the closest to the New York area and she could commute back and forth. And she was a force to be reckoned with in Philly for whatever time period. I think it was like a little over a year. And then she came back to New York. She was on Hot 97 first, and then she came back and went to BLS. Let me tell you something. The woman is talented beyond belief. I remember hearing Wendy talk about on the radio how she wanted to be a radio jock so bad that right after college, she went to the Bahamas and was on the radio in the Bahamas because she couldn't get into the market in America. And she was on the radio in the Bahamas and then came back. Listen, this This is a woman who was dedicated to her skill and her desire. She deserves respect. Had anybody listened to Wendy Williams, back then, perhaps I would not have had to endure what I endured at the hand of Sean Puffy Combs, shot in the face with a 9mm hollow point bullet. But a lot of people wouldn't have endured a lot of things. Maybe the two greatest rappers in the history of hip hop would still be here. And I'm going to tell you something. When I was driving my daughter to school, something else came into my mind. And I was just like, my God, Father God, the downloads God keeps giving me are bar none above and beyond. Above and beyond. Holy Spirit thought it not robbery to inform me. I was listening. So I had already listened to the Wendy Williams interview on The Breakfast Club, and then Faith Evans came on, and I was singing, and I was like, and the Holy Spirit just put down. I told Nirvana, I said I used to sing Faith Evans songs at a lot of open mics and stuff like that, and I said, for somebody who's so talented, upon my own belief and opinion, she really allowed herself to be made a scallywag bedwench by Puffy. Because listen, Biggie married Faith Evans a week and a half to 2 weeks after he met her. They didn't know each other. Puffy, and the Holy Spirit downloaded this into my mind, which most of this I knew, but he connected the dots for me. Puffy used Biggie's insecurity. You hear the line in the song when he said, fat, black, and ugly as ever. However, I stay Coogee down to the socks, rings and watch filled with rocks. And my jam knocks in the Mitsubishi. Gals pee-pee when they see me. Navajos creep me in they teepee. As I lay down laws like I'll cop it. Stop it. If you think you're going to make a profit. Don't see my ones. Don't see my... Yeah, I'm a Biggie faithful, baby. Brooklyn, stand up. Brooklyn, stand up. Hashtag RIP BIG. Hashtag it, baby. RIP BIG. But I digress. Puffy, because he was such a maniacal control freak, used Biggie's inadequacy or the world's gaslighting of Biggie's, because you don't just say that about yourself, fat, black, and ugly, however, as ever, however. That is what the world said to you about yourself, and you tried to take it and turn it around and own it so you didn't have to deal with insecurity. But we also can remember a video of Puffy being interviewed, and he was like, yo, he came to meet me at the restaurant, and I was like, yo, this is a big black nigga. He's a big black well, come on. Why you got to say that about somebody who's your potential artist? He didn't do anything to you. By your own admission, you said he was kind. Why you had to do that? But it's because of his own can't close his lips together, buck too fast. I'm hot. The Holy Spirit downloaded into me that this man used his inadequacy about his weight and his size and his complexion against him. He understood the love, and it might have been toxic love, it might have been flawed love, whatever. We were all young. Remember how old Biggie and Tupac were when they expired, when they transitioned. They were early 20s. Both of them were in their early 20s. So imagine the level of genius you have when you accomplish all of that by 24. Think about it. If you were able to accomplish all of that by 24, 25, you have to be a genius. There are college courses where they study Biggie's ability at iambic pentameter. You know what iambic pentameter is? It is the ability to flow and modulate words and sound together to make harmony. Iambic pentameter is rhyming. It's like poetic prose. He was so, and he would modulate his rhythm and his cadence from 2 bars to the next 2 bars. He could be on one thing and then modulate to something and go back. He was a genius. However, he took his insecurities. Puffy took Biggie's insecurities about his appearance and how society gaslit him. And if there's anybody in your life that you're calling big as blank, fat as blank, black as blank, cut it out. Stop gaslighting people for their appearance. Their appearance comes from God. Their appearance is genetic and biologic, and they don't have any control over it. Stop gaslighting people for their appearance and stupid things. It says more about you than it says about the person. But let me get back to the point. He knew that, remember, Biggie had brought Junior Mafia in and got them a deal. And he understood the love affair that went on between Biggie and Little Kim. Puffy was such a punk ass ninja that he used faith as a tool to separate Biggie and Kim's relationship and dilute the strength of Junior Mafia, Biggie and Little Kim mutually by throwing Faith in there as a dead winch to draw Biggie's attention away, because we see it in real mainstream society. That's why so many black men are with white women, because they think by definition of the lighter complected skin of the woman, especially successful ones, they think I'm going to have everything the white man has, including his woman. And they think on their own insecurities, because it's always the very dark complected men that go for the light skinned women or white women. That comes from perceived and insecure, a perceived insecurity about your own appearance and your blackness. And we'll discuss that in another date. But that's what it is. And anybody who wants to argue with me, fight me. Fight me right now and cite your sources, because I knows what I know. He used Biggie's insecurity about his appearance and hooked him up with the lightest, brightest thing he could find. And in Biggie's mind, I could only imagine that it was like, oh, I could have a kid that's not as dark as me. Let me go ahead and get with this woman, and my generations will come out lighter. Anybody who tells me otherwise, fight me. I know what I'm talking about. And if you can't accept it, that means you haven't dealt with it and reconciled it in yourself. But it don't make it not true. It's 100% true. He tried to dilute the power of Biggie, Little Kim, and Junior Mafia collaboratively together. He knew on one record label, having all of them together united would dilute his strength and power. And he wanted to have unwielding power. So he threw Faith Evans in the mix to break Biggie and Kim up, and to pull Biggie's eye away from her and control the narrative, because he could control Faith, and thus the woman is the neck and the man is the head. And you cannot turn your head without your neck. Okay? And if he was in Faith's ear, he could manipulate how Biggie moved and control what he was able to do. That dirty scoundrel. This man literally changed the future brilliance lineage of hip hop. Imagine if Biggie and Little Kim had actually stayed united. And I'm not saying there's not infidelity in relationships. We know, because your husband's with somebody else and y'all here now. Anyway, I digress. Imagine if they had stayed together. United, that duo of Little Kim and Biggie together musically would have changed the landscape of hip hop. Not the least of which is what he was doing with Junior Mafia and other things that it would have spawned. But because of this one nefarious, insecure Sabidamiche, who had to come in and control their lives and their futures. Could you imagine if Kim was the mother of one of his children? And what that would have, baby. And this is how you know he got control of Faith, because Stevie J was around when Biggie was around. So you married Biggie and then you married Stevie J, all connected to this ninja. Tell me that's not a bed wench. And I mean it figuratively, literally too, but figuratively, upon my own belief and opinion, protected by the United States Constitution, the governing doctrine for the country that I am born in. Okay? Could you imagine what this industry would have been if this man was left to his own devices? And this is a message for some of y'all too, because hear me, who is in your life now that you are pulling the strings and manipulating their existence and their autonomy and their ability to live based off of what you think is best? Because there's a lot of y'all grandmothers out there like, oh, my grandbaby. But when your son was in a relationship, you hated the girl. Who's she? I don't like her. She ain't good enough for my son. But you sure love that grandbaby. Guess what? The grandbaby couldn't exist without your son and the woman's unity. But you did everything behind the strings to manipulate the relationship, turn it, end it. Who in your life Are you doing that too now? Stop it. Let God's will be done. Let God's will be done. Who in your life, whose relationship don't you like right now? Whose relationship are you putting your 2 cents in when nobody asked you? Your son got a girl and you think she A, B, C, D, E, F, G? Well, you raised him. So if that's what he chose, what does it say about you and your raising? I mean, if we're going to talk, let's talk the truth. Let's talk the truth. If you did not intervene, and not only did he intervene in that, you also threw a monkey wrench where you threw Faith out there to go sleep with Tupac because it's like I think it's Raekwon the Chef. You don't get your man back like that. How you gonna get your man back like that? You threw Faith out there to go to Tupac to try to cause a thing with Tupac, and from what I understand, he wasn't with the shits. But you did it for the sole purposes of undercutting Biggie to make him feel like, see, your girl ain't loyal. This is all Puffy's doing. Let's talk about it. It must be discussed. And just like he interfered in their life, he interfered in Wendy's life. And I don't care what nobody say, because see, cite your sources. I know my sources because I watched them. I followed Wendy Williams. Wendy Williams, for some reason, maybe she's mature, she's older, she wanted to extend an olive branch and say, I'm the bigger person, I'm not going to hold animus, you caused me to lose my job, but whatever, my life is here, I'm on TV, whatever, things happen, and I'm still doing my thing. She allowed Puffy to come on her show. Like that, she was sick after that. After this ninja came on her show, Wendy Williams got sick after that. You don't believe me? You on the YouTubes, go look. And then he said something to her on that show. She was talking and he said, oh, I seen your son Kevin back there. He looks so, he growing up real nice. Wendy's face looked like a ghost washed over her. And in that moment, she knew, oh, hot damn, I made a mistake. Go back and look. If you don't know what I'm saying, you don't believe me. Your girl, look, y'all know by now. You experience with me. You know, I don't just watch things. I don't just listen to things. I take it and I absorb it. It's like mastication, where if you understand the art of masticating, that is chewing, you understand that the rule used to be chew your food 28 times before you swallow, because the concept was you masticate and ground the food up to such a degree where you can properly and more easily digest it. You don't believe me? Use the Google. Use the Google. Go look it up. I've known about this since I was a child. Well, a fake child, because like I told y'all, even when I was a small person, I was grown. I was this adult self in a small body. But I'm telling you, our girl Wendy needs freedom. I truly, and then I watched, of course, I heard not the entire interview, but I heard some of the interview when we were in the car on the way to school. And then I came home and I watched the entire episode of the interview when I got in the house. And then I went and watched the Don Lemon interview because she talked to Don Lemon afterwards. And let me just say, while Don Lemon is her friend, I see you, Ninja. I see your slickness, Ninja. Let me tell you what I don't like people to do. Oh, she was my friend. Let me show you some pictures. Here's a picture. Oh, this is when she came and we went to the restaurant. This is when she was at my house for a week. This is when we went on my boat. This is when me and my husband took her out. This is when we were at the restaurant with friends. And you'd be like, does she have dementia? I don't know. Is she 100%? Is she the Wendy that stayed at my house? Does she sound like she was when she was at my house? No. Does she sound like the Wendy that when I was on her show? No. Of course she don't, Ninja. She is under a conservatorship and being held against her will. When you were on her show and when she came and interviewed with you and when she stayed at your house, she was not under those pressures. So she was a lot more free and she was autonomous and she could speak and comport herself as she will. Now she said to you unequivocally, and you, like you said, Don Lemon, you watched and listened to the Breakfast Club. You heard the discussion. You know she is, and her niece has expounded to you, because there are legal implications, and the fact that the conservator is going to be livid because they keep putting out the information. Wendy's incapacitated. Wendy has dementia. Wendy is never going to be the same again. But we see differently. We hear differently. You know she's limited within the scope of what she can say, because there are legal implications, not the least of which is she doesn't want the conservator to come and take her phone, and then she loses all communications. You sitting up there, is she the Wendy that when I was on her show? Pause. No. Does she have dementia? Is she, I don't know. I wasn't there. Whenever somebody who's supposed to be your friend, whenever somebody who you eat with and break bread with comes out and be like, I don't know. Is she the same? I don't know. Is something wrong with her? Does she have problems? I don't know. That is not your friend. Try your best, and when you get out, stay far from them. Stay far. That's speculation, innuendo. Is she different from when she was at my house? Yes, of course she is. Anybody's going to be different if they're locked up against their will. What they have the ability to talk about and all of the things that they want to say takes place because, well, by golly, I'm locked away. I ain't talked to nobody in civilization forever and a day. Let me say everything I can say. She sounded exactly like the Wendy sitting in that purple chair. Let me tell you, okay? Let me tell you, okay? Listen, my life, I like Sephora. I have my lip. Yeah, because she got to say everything she could say because she's locked away. To sit up there for your own friend and be like, is she all there? Pregnant, pause, pregnant, pause, pregnant, pause. No, you son of a bitch. And y'all know I don't even get that. You's a son of a bitch, Don Lemon. I see you, ninja. Me not like it at all. If you got friends like that, who needs enemies? Listen to me right now, good and proper, because I got monitoring spirits in my life too. I've had a headache, an intense headache for the past 2 days. When I say headache, my headache was so bad. People were texting me and I was 1 and 2 word replying. I had to take oil and literally soak my entire scalp down because my head hurt so bad. I didn't know what else to do. I was at a point where I was considering the hospital, but I don't trust them suckers. I've had enough hospitaling in my life. And after you get pow-powed in the face and all of the medical coverage you're under, baby, I've had enough hospitalization and hospital interference for a lifetime, 10 lifetimes. Me no want it. But I was at the precipice of going to the hospital because I was in so much pain. I had to pray and meditate, Father God, I am healthy, I am healed, I am whole of mind, body, soul, spirit, flesh, and finances. And say that over and over and over again for 2 days straight. And now your girl is back, stronger than ever. Stronger than ever, okay? But first of all, hold on a second. We got a super chat, and I do not want to overlook that. I definitely want to make sure. Give me 1 second, guys. One of my children, my adult sons, they listen, when your adult children call you just to be like, yo, Ma, what up? I'm just checking in, just calling you, see how you doing. That means you've done a fantastic job. And I'll tell you something. I was talking to a family friend of mine today, an attorney, and he took a moment to say, you know what? He's like, how's everybody doing? I was telling him, giving him updates on this one and that one. And he said, let me tell you something. Let me just give you your flowers, sis, because you just, I've said it to you before, but I just want to say you are a phenomenal mother. You have outdone yourself. You really have I've just watched over these years, all these years, how hard you go for your kids. And I just want to tell you, and when I tell you baby, somebody was cutting onions early. I was just like, huh? It really, really touched me because anyone who knows me, I don't mean just internet knows me, I mean knows me, knows. And y'all internet know me, y'all know me. My kids are everything. And I was just talking to my aunt 2 days ago when I was having the first part of the headache. We were talking and praying and going over some stuff. And she said, "You're such a good mother." And what is it that made you, what was the impetus of you just being such a good mother and wanting to be such a good mother? And God made me remember. I told you guys when I was 9 years old. Hold on, let me do this super chat. Shout out to Call Me Emmy for the super chat. Thank you for continuing to shed light on these topics. Hashtag justice for Natanya. Hashtag free Wendy. Call Me Emmy. Thank you so much, my love. Thank you so much. I appreciate you so much. That was absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much. And when she said to me, what was the impetus? Thank you guys so much for saying the attorney was accurate. I appreciate it. Thank you. God dropped the memory download into my head right when I was talking to her. And I could see myself in the office. When I was 9, I told you I self-diagnosed myself with scoliosis. When I saw the word, I thought it was sclerosis. However, I knew that the things that the young lady in the book was describing that she was experiencing was exactly what I was experiencing. I didn't have a name to it. It had been in my body for so long. I thought it was normal. I thought this is how everybody's body was. I wasn't checking other bodies. Like at that stage of life, we just know us. We know our people, but we know us. Everything we know about ourselves is what we know because that's all we know. And I'll reiterate to you, I was never a child. I was a small person with an adult spirit in me, which is why I could diagnose myself with the illness at 9. And so I said to my mother, I ran to my mother's room and said, I have sclerosis. And I begged her. She was like, get out of my room. You ain't got no sclerosis. She never asked me to explain why I think I have sclerosis. She just said, you don't have it, get out. And so, okay, that was the thing. We said I didn't have it. I got out of her room. And then my grandmother eventually, I kept bugging my grandmother. And my grandmother said, Glory, take her to the doctor and let them tell you if she have it or not and let it stop now. And so thank God for my grandmother. My mother finally took me, got a referral. We went to a spine specialist. The doctor brought me in, said, he said, when we went to the first doctor, he said, what makes you think you have sclerosis? I have good news and bad news. I've told you guys this ad nauseum. He said, I got good news and bad news. My mother said, what's the good news? He said, you don't have sclerosis. She said, get your jacket. He said, but you have scoliosis. And I'd like to know how you know that. And I was just like, scoliosis. I thought it was sclerosis. It was a big word. I was 9, whatever. And so we went to a spine specialist. And the spine specialist examined me, did all this stuff, told me step out of the room, and he was talking to my mother. Do you remember on TV when they used to take a glass and put a glass on the door and listen? Fantasy Island and all that stuff, the Love Boat, and you could hear what the person's saying on the other side? Well, I did that. And I heard this doctor tell my mother, she is growing, because I was tall as a young girl. I was tall. I just was never a child. Let me just say that. Okay. My adult spirit was causing my child body to advance at an exponential rate because it could not stand being in a small frame. So I was taller than everybody. I was very tall as a young girl. I was growing rapidly. And he said, because of the rate of growth and the rate of the degree of curvature and the rate of curvature, she will never be able to have children. He said that to my mother. And I screamed out in that hallway and said, you're a liar. I'm having children. I'm going to be a mother. You stupid and you a liar. God, he's a liar. I'm going to be a mother. I was 9. What the heck I know about that? 9. But I said, you a liar. When they opened the door, and they looked out like, and he's like, oh, come back in. I said, nope. My mother said, come back in and talk to your doctor. I said, he's not my doctor. I'm not going to him. I want another doctor. He's a liar. My mother said, watch your mouth. I said, he's a liar. I'm going to be a mother. My mother was like, doctor, I'm so sorry. She looked at me like, and I looked at her like, who we fooling? You know you can't shut me down. He's a liar. She said, come back in and talk to the doctor. He said, making another appointment. I said, don't make no appointment. I'm not going to him. I'm not going. He's not my doctor. My mother was like, what is your problem? I said, he's a liar. He's not my doctor. I'm not going to him. Do you know I never went back to see that doctor? I refused. My mother knew. I was such a handful that she just was like, okay, let's find another doctor. I went back to the main doctor and said, you have to give me a referral to another doctor. I'm not going back to that doctor. He was like, why? What's going on? I said, he's a liar. And he's not my doctor. They found another doctor who was my glorious doctor, Dr. Michael Newworth on Park Avenue in Manhattan. Yes, the Park Avenue that you hear about. Park Avenue. Because my mother was willing to spare no expense for her child because I wasn't going for it. Listen, woman, spare no expense for me because I ain't going for it. That other man is a liar. I'm not going back there. So I was treated by Dr. Michael Newworth, the preeminent spine specialist in New York, not just New York, in the world. In fact, years later, after I had my surgery, what's her name again? Come on, baby, better than do that crumb, but don't you know the any longer? What's her name again? She was in a Miami Sound Machine. Why is her name slipping my head? Can anybody remember that? She's Cuban. She's from Miami. She's a singer. Renee Elizondo was her husband. What is her name again? Gosh. Gloria Estefan. Thank you. Or Renee Estefan or whatever it's her. But Gloria Estefan. Thank you. Gloria Estefan had a tragic bus accident when they were on tour and something happened with the bus and it skidded, I think, in a snow embankment and crashed and her spine was broken. My surgeon was the one that did her spine surgery. Had to fly her to him to do the spine surgery to correct her back, or they said she would probably never walk again and be paralyzed. That preeminent spine specialist, Dr. Michael Newworth, I will never forget his name. This man saved my life. And a lot of people thought I should not be allowed to make the decision to have the spine surgery because he said I was in a body cast. I was in a brace first, multiple braces. I was growing so rapidly. My spine curved so much. When we first discovered it, my spine curvature was small. They tried to put me in a brace for a few years. That didn't work. They lost my films for 1 year, stuck them in somebody else's chart. And in that 1 year, my spine curved so much. When I had my surgery, I was a 32-degree angle curvature. 32 degrees. You know what a 32 degree is? Almost a C. It was like a S kind of curved the one way at the top, but almost completely effed up. And if I kept growing at the rate that I was growing, he said, I got to give you, when we finally got down to the consult for the surgery, he said, let me give you your honest odds. You have a 33% chance coming out of the surgery perfectly fine and being healed. You have a 33% chance of being paralyzed and never walking again and being disfigured. And you have a 33% chance of dying. I said, I'll take my chances. Everybody, my mother's friends, everybody, don't let that child make that decision. She's too young. She can't make that decision. Listen here, this is my life. 2 chances out of the 3 says I'm alive. I'm taking the choice. This is mine. Okay? And I made that decision with teens still attached to my age and went in and had the surgery. But because I have a mouth that is always an advocate for myself and others, I understand the importance of advocacy. What is being done to our girl Wendy Williams is atrocious. Let me tell you something. All who know, if you know what I'm saying, you best to know. And I don't care. You don't have to use me. You can use another financial professional. But I'm going to do a series on trust and life insurance. Y'all better come to this series with your notebooks and your pens or another device and record it. You best to record it personally and have it in your coffers. Because let me explain to you why. It is about autonomy and principalities. See, the principalities of darkness wanted to sequester and shut Wendy down. And it is not lost on me that it got something to do with this Puffy shit. See, they knew, because I told you, God told me 3 years ago. You know what Wendy said today? She has been under the conservatorship with this woman for 3 years. Didn't I tell y'all God told me 3 years ago that Puffy's thing is going to crumble? So apparently somebody was working behind the scenes and they knew, because God told me 3 years ago and I started telling people and everybody told me I was out of my mind. Or they was like, okay, really? You think about that too much. You need to let it go. A lot of people, some of my girlfriends was like, what? And they believed me. But there were others who was just like, so how's the weather? And Wendy said she's been under the conservatorship for 3 years now. Somebody knew that Puffy's time was coming and they didn't want Wendy Williams available to talk about it. It is my sincere belief, and can't nobody tell me otherwise. Nobody can tell me otherwise. And yes, you are 100% right. It is so hard to have a prophetic anointing. Allison, Austin, so hard to have a prophetic anointing. It's very, because people don't want to listen. Y'all are so auto-tuned into this fake thing we call reality. Y'all call it real life, but it's fake. It's orchestrated. It is contrite. It's not real. It's not organically happening. People are doing things. You come outside, you say, oh, it's a cloudy day. No, they was up in the sky cloud seeding early that day, spraying their chemtrails. You think it's a cloudy day. Behind them chemtrails, it is resplendently bright. Drive a few miles outside of the norm and the sky gets blue. But when somebody talks to y'all, and here's the deal, the Bible told y'all that prophets come. See, y'all only, this is the only time y'all like prophecy. I see in your future a big house. That Lamborghini you wanted? Hold on, sister, it's coming. That 10,000 square foot house? Hold on, brother. I see you signing the deed. That's the prophecy y'all like. But if you know the Bible, if you know the word of God, prophets didn't come tell you about no Lamborghini and no big house. They came and said, gird your loins. Over yonder in the next city, you will meet your fate. That won't be so nice. Prophets, people was afraid of prophets because when the prophet said, brother, do you have a moment? He wasn't coming to tell you about no Lamborghini or no house. Now listen, if y'all want to sit here and play with the anointing, baby, let's talk. The prophets didn't come to you and tell you about no 10,000 square foot house or no 2025 Range Rover. They came to you and told you about that peril that's coming 2 miles down. They came and told you that you will get 3 knocks at the door. Don't answer. The second set of knocks, answer on the third knock. That's what the prophets came and told you. The prophet said, if you don't want to lose your firstborn, mark your door with a cross made of blood. Hello? Of course. Yes, T. Monique. Real prophets are feared. And that is why some people don't like me. Because they're scared of this truth. They're terrified of it. All glory and honor go to God. I need y'all to cite your sources. If anybody in the Bible got told about a new 10,000 square foot encampment they were going to build in over yonder Bethlehem, please show me. Show me. They came and told doom, gloom, repent now, for thy future is upon your repentance, and hard truths. They came and gave hard truths. Absolutely. Cat, the prophets came when a prophet said, kind sir, may I have a word with you? They were saying, F around and find out. Yes. Or, excuse me, kind sir, you effed around back there when I told you about yonder window breaks? You about to find out. Perhaps don't go that way. Go that way. That's what the prophets came to tell you about. So if I'm wrong, cite your sources and prove it. Oh, yes. Shout out Cat Girl. Proud of you for that. She said, I got my wireless charger, my fireproof bag for documents, cash, IDs. Natania's live got me prepared. Asheo, sis. Shout out to you for preparation and obedience, because that's what this is about, obedience. But let me tie it back to my girl, Wendy. Let me tell you why Wendy is being heard now, and God is here, and we are able to collectively throw our support behind her. Because many moons ago, when Wendy Williams was on the radio, she had a sidekick named Skeletor. Let me take a sip. Wendy's original sidekick, his name was Skeletor. And Wendy started telling us about these parties that were taking place in New York City brownstones called blatino. Old school Brooklyn and New York people, shout out, stand up. If you know about it, stand up. And yes, LA chick, it's called a Faraday cage. Absolutely, Faraday bags and Faraday cages. And always know, guys, a microwave, if nothing else, if something is getting ready to happen and a bad solar flare or radiation or whatever, stick all your items in the microwave, wrap them in foil, stick them in the microwave. Do not turn the microwave on. That acts as a Faraday cage. But I digress. But you want to get you a tangible, real one with the mesh, Kevlar mesh and all that around it. Anyway, Wendy Williams had a sidekick named Skeletor. And the reason they had this whole who's the gay rapper in hip hop, and Wendy was able to say, the question is not who's the gay rapper. The question is who's the straight rapper, because of back when Puffy was doing all his stuff that she ended up getting fired for because nobody wanted to listen. Because you could be gay, who cares? Nobody's judging that. What we're talking about is using your proclivities against people who are not interested, and using your proclivities to manipulate, to aggress upon, to violate the autonomy, individuality, choices, and sanctity of people at the expense of their earning capabilities and things of that nature and all that other stuff he was doing. Wendy told y'all back in the days. I remember it vividly. She started talking about the blatino. See, she was getting too close. Back then is when I had my shop. And I know she wasn't lying either, because let me tell you, I had these two homeboys, Ronnie and Casey. I loved them. They used to hang out in the shop. Ronnie and Casey, those were my boos. And trust me, I had a couple of guys who would come in and pay for their wife hair and their side piece. Their wife and their side piece. Both were my customers. And I only found out because he came to pay for one and then paid for the other. And I was like, that's your sister? Nah, that's my boo. Go ahead, Eb, chill. I said, your boo? Ninja, don't compromise my integrity. That's how I got some of the biggest tips I got in doing hair, because ninjas was trying to keep their secret. And then while that was happening, he got a wife and a boo. And my little good Judy's on the side was like, oh, he be in the parties. He be in the blatino parties. What? What is it you say? Him? My homeboy, him that's paying me for his wife and his girl's hair, be in the blatino parties? Let me tell you about the blatino parties. In the blatino parties, you come in, they used to have a bunch of lockers inside of the, whatchamacallit. Yes, joy to the world. Shout out to my boo-boo. Wait, did I click over? Oh, that thing went. Shout out to my booski, joy to the world. Shout out to you too, Temper. She said, I love the troll-free air in here. Thank you. How do I scroll? What am I? What did I do? Why is this thing not scrolling up all of a sudden? Wagwan, yes, sir. The hackation is upon me? Okay. Joy to the World said, yes, she did. And she was telling years ago, because Joy to the World is from my neck of the woods, and she know I'm telling the truth. Am I not speaking facts, sis? Am I not speaking facts? Yes. The blatino parties, what you would do is they had a bunch of lockers. And when you got there, you had to check your clothes and your phone in a locker. The only thing you could keep is your Timbs and your drawers. And you don't have to keep your drawers. A lot of people didn't keep their drawers, but those were the only things you were allowed to keep. Your footwear and your drawers. And you walk around a bucket naked in the brownstone. They would rent out the entire brownstone, all the floors. And it was one big freak off. And my dudes, Ronnie and Casey, used to tell me who my homeboys that was the dudes of New York at the time, them dudes, when they walk in, they be like, I know him from the clubs. I know him from the parties. He be in the parties. I said, what? And here's the deal. What you choose to do and what your sexual identity is and all of that is your business. But you see the like DL stuff? Because let me tell you why I'm not with DL shit. Because you are impacting women who don't know better and taking lives of women who don't know better. I'm going to tell y'all another thing. I know this is the Wendy Williams live, but that's why I'm single. Because in my prophetic gift, God gave me eyes to see and ears to hear. And he also gave me the ability to see people. Baby, he gave me the ability to see sickness in people. And so help me God, I meet so many what seem to be very nice guys. But I know they sick. I can see it. I'm in it. So I digress. Wendy Williams started telling people about the blatino parties because her show producer sidekick Skeletor was a gay man and he was in the parties and he used to give her tea and tell her about everybody that was up in there. But a lot of people didn't know and they can't figure out how Wendy Williams knows what's going on in the blatino parties. How does she know about the blatino? Blatino is an amalgamated word, black and Latino. That's what it was, the black and Latino gay parties. And she kept knowing everybody's business and people couldn't figure out why, or the powers that be couldn't figure out why, until they figured out it was Skeletor. And then after a while, Skeletor was nowhere to be found. We're going to log off soon because I got to go get the trusty dusty show producer who has gotten accepted to her favorite college, among other schools. And eventually, when he was gone, she needed another show producer sidekick on her show and assistant. And people were trying to throw shade on Wendy. The people who she was outing, and not so much outing, but dragging for filth because of their dirty deeds, or giving, and she wouldn't directly just say Peter is such and such. She would say a certain person, blind items. She was the queen of blind items. And you could tell who it was by the blind items, if you knew. And so there was a young guy who wanted to break into radio. And she decided to give that young guy a chance. And when she first gave him a chance, people used to be like, I don't like him because he wasn't Skeletor. When we get used to familiarity, be a lot of y'all downfalls. You be so used to somebody, you don't want nobody else to come in and get a chance. And when that old person is still no longer available, you still harping on that old person. So the new person, you giving them grief. People was giving her grief about Charlemagne, talking junk, trying to malign him, telling her she should fire him and get somebody else. But because of her obedience, because of her, first of all, her understanding from God that he was the right one for her, her obedience to God to not let him go when the public was trying to make her let him go because he wasn't Skeletor, and the relationship they fostered in the interim, the opportunity she gave to a hungry young man who has now gone on and owns the Black Effect Podcast Network and has the ability to now not only let her be heard when nobody else in media would tell her story. See, they let a little gossip and conjecture, speculation, and innuendo go out. Oh, poor Wendy. But nobody was letting her have a voice. Because she gave this young man a chance 20 years ago is the reason now she gets to cry aloud and spare not. Because that same man now has the power through his podcast, which is the biggest podcast, bar none, in the country, to give her the platform to be heard. Give her a platform, and she had his number to be able to call and directly say. And then they gave her flowers. If it had not been for you, none of us and none of this would be here. This man has an entire podcast network. Say what you will about Charlemagne. I have my grievances with him at times too. Frankly, I think he's on the spectrum. And that's why a lot of his questions and utterances are a bit peculiar. But I'm not knocking spectrum people because, like I say, I think I might be on the spectrum. And I love it here. I absolutely, darling, I call it my tism. And I've never been diagnosed, but I diagnosed myself. Wouldn't be the first time I diagnosed myself. I love it here. But by golly, her obedience. When God said, take this young man, give this young man from Monks Point, South Carolina, a chance. When he was not known in the New York area and everybody had something to say about him, she said, nah, this is my dude right here. I'm going to give him a chance. And she would be like, Charlemagne, oh, Charlemagne. She'd be like, oh, Charlemagne. And people used to be like, I don't like him. Throw him off the air. Get somebody else. She was obedient. Look how it came back to help her later on in life. And see, I don't just listen to what people say. One thing I know is about, especially TISM people. I know how TISMers say things to say things. They're not saying, they just saying. He said a few days ago, I talked to Wendy, and Wendy is fine. Wendy could be on a podcast right now. She could be on the radio right now and have her own show. I heard him say that. Listen, not only is this free Wendy movement going to go through the road, I'm predicting, I'm telling you now, Wendy Williams will come back with her own podcast on the Black Effects Podcast Network and be the #1 rated podcast. She will shoot past the Breakfast Club. And I think they are just fine with it, because the reason they are is because she was and gave them a chance. Okay? Hear me good. Who are you affecting now whose life you're either going to ruin and throw off course, or who's in your life right now that may be subjugated to you, but will come back and be your blessing in the future? You better treat people right. You better treat people right. Stop stepping on the little guy. Lord, that's a whole word for a bunch of people right now. Hallelujah. Who are you henpecking now that will come back in the future and be the ability for you to live or perish? Who neck you on right now? Who is God telling you, give her a chance, but you ignore it? Or you giving them a chance, but you being shady? You better watch your back. You better watch your back. For the people you step on now will spin the block and become the person who has the power to make sure you live or perish. Act like y'all know. Shout out to Tink for the super sticker. I love you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for showing support. We're going to wrap this up. I'm going to say, free my sister Wendy. Baby, listen to me. Imagine what the world would be right now if we had the daily commentary of the queen of all media, Miss Wendy Williams, in these YouTube streets right now, baby. It would shut down all the trolls and the jibber jabbers. And I'm going to say, because I got to hang up and go get the trusty dusty show producer, let me tell y'all something. Like I said, I know y'all watch my stuff because I could hear me in your reportings. That's neither here nor there. Not trying to be funny. Wendy deserves her autonomy. Wendy deserves to be her own person. She made a lot of money and gave a lot of people lives. People have retirement packages. People have careers. People have lovely homes and families and all of that because of Wendy Williams. Free Wendy, period. Free that woman. And everybody else, watch your neck. We are going to do a series on love. We are going to talk to Miss Jessie Wu later on. We're going to do a series on love. I might come back and do a series on love after Jessie Wu, or maybe tomorrow. Listen, there are 8 different versions of love. Make sure you got your notebooks and your pens. You know, when I come to speak, Father God, I'm a vessel for God. You're going to get something. And I'm saying this with the authority and the righteousness of God. Take it how you want it. You know I'm speaking facts. Those of you who don't think I'm speaking facts or are sitting back saying, oh, she get on my nerve. Who she thinks she is? Bye. Bye, boo. Perhaps this is not the place for you. Go that way down the information superhighway. I come to give love and to give gems and knowledge to the people who want to receive it. Don't listen. You have the option. This is YouTube. All you got to do is click off. See you. Bye-bye now. And when such a times come that God makes you spin the block and come on back, you're welcome back. I'm going to welcome you back in with open arms. Hi, sugar. How you been? Ain't seen you in a while. Grab a pair of fuzzy socks. Take your shoes off. Jump on the couch and let's talk. I'm going to welcome you back like we never missed a beat. Because if you can't hear what I'm saying, you're in your ego. The difference with me is I'm not in my ego. Baby, the ego don't exist for me, baby. Ego is edging God out. Baby, God all the way in with me. He's all the way in here. So if you got a problem with what I got to say, you ain't mature and spiritually ready. Perhaps go ruminate a little while longer and circle back. I'm dropping education, information, wisdom, and spirituality. If you don't like that, you don't like yourself and you don't like God. And that's it. I'm not here about me. I'm giving y'all tea and education of what I know. So like I said in conclusion, all of you content creators out there with those pictures of Wendy when she was going through and they're not favorable to her and they don't look nice, and that's what you chose to make your thumbnail picture, you got until 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Change that shit. Or I'm coming for you when I return. And I don't care if we're friends. I don't care if I speak to you regularly. If you do not update that thumbnail, by the time 4 o'clock get here and I get back in front of my computer, or 4:30, whatever it takes, I'm coming for you because you dirty. This woman is in her season and time where she needs support. If we put a collective burst of love and energy her way, she will be freed. But you out here looking for clickbait and doing what shady people do. I don't like shade. I'm woman enough to cry aloud and spare not, collect and gather and say, come on, baby, what we going to eat now? Y'all want to go grab a bite? Some people don't like that because they want to linger in their slick shade and they don't want anybody to call them out. And when you do call them out, they got a problem. That's your business. Take it to the altar. It's there for us all. Shout out to Catgirl226 for the super sticker and the love. I appreciate you, my sister. Thank you so much, honey. If you got a problem with what I got to say, you don't like yourself and you don't like God. Because I'm here to drop wisdom. I've been doing it for a long time. Some of y'all just wasn't ready. But if you're ready now, come in. Won't you come? Won't you come in? Those of you who don't like it and ain't ready, well, by all means, like I said, go yonder. I'm sure there's someone down the super highway, the internets, over there spewing venom and talking about somebody mama and calling them scallywag hoes. I'm sure that's out there. Go have at it. And I say with open arms, when you are ready to circle back, you come on back. Won't you come in? Take off your shoes, honey. Have a seat. Get you some fuzzy socks out of the basket. But what we going to do, as for me and my channel, I will always talk about God. I know some of you have a problem with that. I see you on the internet talking junk about it. Who cares? Talk junk when your front yard look like LA looks right now. Stand outside and talk junk, because there's a lot of people who's so I'm going to reiterate, and I'm going to say it every day. 2 days before LA burned down, they was on that Emmy or Oscar or Golden Globes or whatever, Golden Globes. And the host made a joke. She had a countdown on a screen. She said, so that's 11 shout outs and votes for agents and managers. I think it was 5 for moms, 0 for God, and 1 for Mario Lopez. And she said, yep, God's still running a 0 here. And everybody sat back. Oh, they laughed, honey, something terrible. 2 days later, all that shit was dust. Dust! Let me tell you how wicked these people are. Do you know these ninjas are still about to hold the Academy Awards? Emmys, whatever, one of them shows. You still holding an award show in a whole city that represents the industry you in is burnt to dust, and y'all having an award show? How much self-aggrandizement do you need? Do some kind of virtual telecast. Really? Y'all holding an award show. But see, those who know, while some of that fire might be God bringing down, because I told y'all also, when I told y'all that Puffy world was going to crumble, I told y'all that God told me Babylon will fall. And I said that. I said Babylon will fall. If this ain't Babylon falling, I don't know what is. But for those of you who know, while some of that stuff may have been God's organic burning, much of it was man-made. A whole lot of it was, oh, come on, y'all, let's take this opportunity to burn all these houses up so we can hide the evidence of all the crimes we've done in this PDF ring. Because, baby, if those who don't know about a man named Isaac Kappy, Isaac, Kappy, look him up. Isaac Kappy was running around Hollywood telling everybody about what was being done. And he was an actor. He was running out telling everybody about the PDF file ring that was rampant. And he called many a name. And they show unalived him. He was on the run. And this might be where a certain person got her whole shtick about being on the run. But, I'm going to leave that where that is. And they're running. I'm running from them. They're looking for me. There's some things that your girl don't touch. There's some topics me not talk about. Okay? Some topics me don't talk about. I just said, nothing no go so. Me not getting at that. I know for me not getting at it. And I leave it alone. I leave it for the other people on the internet. But baby, keep in mind, everything that you think you see is not what you're seeing. Please take a moment. I'm begging everybody at least 10 minutes a day. Sit in a quiet room in the dark, crisscross applesauce on the floor. If you have to get into your closet, get in your closet like a prayer closet. Get in your closet in a small confined space so that you can invite God into that space in a smaller space so you can fill yourself up with God. Because the space is so small that it encapsulates you and it can penetrate your subdermis and everything quicker. Invite God in and sit there quiet for 10 minutes and just be with yourself in your mind. Talk to yourself. I promise you, some of y'all won't make it 3 minutes. I can sit on this couch in the sitting area of my bedroom, no exaggeration, for an hour, 2 hours, right here by myself like this. Not saying a word, not watching anything, not listening to anything, no external stimuli. And I can just be with God and be with myself. Trust me, quiet the external noise so that you can hear God. It is the only way you're going to truly make it out of this thing in one piece and of sound mind and body. Do it. Shut out some of the external noise. It is exactly that, noise. But I shall return. Hashtag free Wendy. Hashtag we will revisit this topic. Hashtag baby. And shout out to Charlemagne for being obedient and giving the flowers to the woman who gave him a chance. Shout out to him for breaking this media silence wave over Wendy and freezing her out so she can't have her say when she is a part of that body. Shout out to him for giving her a voice. And you saw what she said on the show? She said, baby, did it. He done. Did it done. He's going away for life. Don Lemon, use a shady mouth. I can hear the shade all through your thing. Shade. Oh, well, I forgave her. She said some mean things about me in the past. She said that I went out to a gay club. Why is that mean? Aren't you gay? I was closeted at the time. So what? That was your choice. Did she say something that was a lie? Did she say something that was a lie? All she said was that you were gay. Why is that speaking mean about you? Why is that coming out against you? Because in my opinion, you wasn't never in no closet, boo. Anybody that thought you were straight was insane. And to reiterate, for all of you people that's giving Patti LaBelle grief because she just spoke about her friend Luther Vandross, you're insane. There is no closet door big enough to have held who Luther was. If you didn't know Luther was gay, you don't know nothing. You don't know anything. I talk to people like, Luther Vandross was gay? I'm like, knock, 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 knock. And all I can hear is a hollowness in their head. Knock, knock, knock. Empty na bomba cloud. Because if you don't know that, something's wrong with you. It's no disrespect. Gay is not a crime. It's only a crime in their minds. It's only a crime in other people's minds. It's who they are. It's who they are. But the whole making somebody said you were gay a bad thing, well, then if you think it's a bad thing, then you bad. If you think that Wendy Williams said something mean about you in the past, Don Lemon, she said mean things. What? That you were gay? Why is that mean? You're gay. Why is it mean? Y'all got to reframe your narrative. But I forgave her. What'd you have to forgive her for? Speaking the truth? In all of this, regardless of where you fall on what side of the aisle, whether you like her or not, everything she said about these mainstream ninjas in society, especially Mother and Puffy, was 100% right. And I will do whatever I need to do for Wendy. There is I think there's change.org petition out there for her. I'm going to sign that, and I'm going to make sure Locked has it to put it in the chat. I'm going to hashtag Wendy, and I'll make some, while we're working on all of the dopest nerd and the nerd herd shirts, I'm going to have them make a hashtag free Wendy shirt. And all of the proceeds will go to the movement to get Wendy out. They raising money to get her an attorney and all this stuff. Every dime for all of those free Wendy shirts will go to them. Free Wendy. In conclusion, I love you all. You thought it not robbery to be here on my soapbox with me to hear my narrative. Content creators out there with them shady pictures of Wendy, 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Change that shit or I'm calling your name. I'm sick of y'all. Why y'all always got to find a way to dehumanize a woman? Dehumanize a woman. And here's the thing. I know what the shade is, because you know the potential for when you hear that she's of sound mind and body, and you know the potential for her to come out and get a podcast and come and clean these podcast streets up and wipe the floor with y'all is very high. And so you're taking every last ditch effort to throw shade on that woman by putting unfavorable pictures up and spewing venom. I saw another one a person who shall remain nameless on this channel talk about Wendy the clone. Little boy, can you grow up? I mean, little boy, grow up, man. Cha. How you can so miserable? Is who broke you, boy? Something wrong with that boy there. Something is terribly wrong with that, the blood clot boy. I mean, can't take it no more. Like, I'm peaceful, but something wrong with that ninja down the internet highway. But I digress. Thank you all for coming here, spending your time with me for this hour odd, thinking it not robbery to be in these internet streets with your girl, the dopest nerd. Shout out to the dopest mod and all the mods. Shout out to everybody. Make sure y'all give love to them. I shall see you guys later. Please share the thumbnail for our girl, Jessie Woo, and we will be back later on. I love you guys. Until we see each other again.